Blog Talk Radio.
Hey everybody, welcome to Kingdom Justice. This is your host Courtney Jones speaking, and today we are back. And today we're back, and we are on part 5 of fighting the Philistines, and this has been an interesting week. I'm sorry about that. I feel like some in my throat anyway. So that's happened sometimes. I don't know. It sounds like certain messages want to get out. It sounds like something trying to just keep you from even speaking. That happens sometimes. But just bear with me. Tonight we got to go through a lot of scriptures here. We have to go through a lot of scriptures here, and so we've been over quite a bit in this teaching. I think we did a lot of these hour, 30, 40-minute teachings on this series so far. I think by far we did, quite a few of them where we're going like hour, 40, 50 minutes, close to that, and even to the point where we're trying to stretch past our time. And we've been trying to do that, and we at part 5, just this fast, we're at part 5, and fighting against the Philistines is just like I said before, it's just like fighting against the Amalekites. So the spirit that I really experienced lately, I've been experiencing the same kind of thing I've been experiencing when I fought against the Amalekite. You feel a little worn down. Today I feel overwhelmed, and and that's one of the things I want you to understand, that one of the things that this spirit likes to do is make you feel overwhelmed. That's the first thing the Amalekite wanted to do, is that it want to make you feel overwhelmed. All of a sudden, I'm doing this, I got to do this, and then you're doing that, and then you got something else you got to work on. You're trying to get this done. You're trying to do multitask. You got a lot of other things you got to be done, and then you find your mind hitting on what time it is, and I got to get this done. I got to get this out. I got to study this. I got to do this, and it gets you overwhelmed. And when it started to get you overwhelmed, it started to frustrate a person. And that's one of the things that it does to people. And so I haven't had this happen in a while like that. But today, today with this teaching, for as less God going to give me some more, I think this is going to be pretty much the end of this teaching today, the series. And so as we see that today I've been having that issue. There's stuff just I guess they're trying to fight their best, whatever they have left. They're trying to do that, and they're trying to, take away your speech. They're using everything they got. They're using Leviathan. And Leviathan, we won't go into that to talk about that, how they try to twist your words, trying to mess with your mouth, mess with your words. They also try to overpower you. And trying to overpower you, to overwhelm you, to make you be multitasking, doing too many things at one time. So therefore, you won't be able to really just speak the message or focus on the message or whatever you're trying to do. And this is pretty much is what the Spirit does. Excuse me. This is pretty much what the Spirit does, and to try to overwhelm you. And so what we're going to do is we've been talking about how can this, now I want you to understand, how can this affect you in your everyday life? Well, it's trying to affect me in my everyday life, and what I'm doing in the walk with God is trying to affect me, and it's really trying to affect me from talking to you about this message. So it's showing you that if it can get you multitasking, it gets you over here, over there, over here, over there, it can get you caught into where your attention over here, your attention over there, that's what it needs to do. It needs to draw you away. It needs to draw you away from these things. They don't want you to have the time. They don't want you to have the time to reflect on God. They don't want you to spend time studying in God. They don't want you to spend time walking with God. These are the things that it's trying to do. They want to keep you away from God and want to stop your growth in God. So when I deal with the Amalekite, some of these things that I'm dealing with now was trying to happen to me. And it kind of, it did some of these things, but with the Philistine spirit, it was doing the same thing. It was trying to do the same exact thing. And then the day I started to feel the overwhelmness. And when I started feeling the overwhelmness, I started to say, wow, this is interesting. I'm feeling the overwhelmness. I feel just like I feel when I went through like Amalekite 5. I think I was on Amalekite 5 or 6, and one of them, and I can hardly speak. And I feel that way now. And it was trying to overwhelm me. Excuse me, while I was trying to get the message out. And that whole day I was overwhelmed when I was doing like a Malachi 5, I think it was. And so I want you to understand that this is how this thing can operate in people's lives, and it can really take advantage of a person, because if they got you working here and you focus on children, this, that, this, then you know what, that day passed, you didn't spend with God. The next day passed, you didn't spend with God. The day after that passed, you didn't spend with God. The next day passed, you didn't spend with God. So we curse those Philistines in Jesus' name, and we curse them in Jesus' name. We go forward. Now the day is interesting because one of the things the Philistines like to stop, and I just ask you to bear with me because I'm gonna push through this hard. And we're going to push through this hard and in faith. And so, therefore, we had 1 Samuel. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse 19. Now, in this verse, I want you to understand something. This is one of the things the Philistines trying to do. Now, we've been over how they're trying to stop you from bearing fruit because they don't want you to bear fruit. That's why they're going to try to do what they can to hinder you as well as trying to hinder me. They don't want you to bear fruit. So, therefore, we have 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse 19. Now, this is something else that they do. It say, now no blacksmith could be found in all the land of Israel, and all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, otherwise the Hebrews will make swords or spears. Now, I want you to understand that. They said, no blacksmith could be found in all the land of Israel. For the Philistines said, otherwise the Hebrews will make swords and spears. So therefore what they did was they forced the children of Israel, they forced them to have to go to them. Now, blacksmith is also considered a craftsman. And this is very important because a blacksmith is also considered a craftsman. And so where we at right here, we at let's go to Proverbs chapter 3, verse 19. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 19. It said, the Lord by wisdom found the earth. By understanding, he established the heavens. Now notice it said, the Lord by wisdom found the earth. By understanding, he established the heavens. Okay? Now it says, by understanding, he established the heavens. By his knowledge, the depths were broken up, and the sky dipped with dew. Now, know how interesting that is, because when it says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, it says that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless, or it was in chaos, and it was void, it means empty, and darkness was over the surface of the depth. Now, notice that over the surface of the depth. Now, we go back to Proverbs, how I continue this. It says, the Lord by wisdom found the earth. And then it said, by understanding, he established the heavens. By his knowledge, the depths, right there we see the surface of the deep, say the surface, by his knowledge, the depths, or you can say the deeps, were broken up, and the sky dipped with dew. Dew is anointing. So notice that he's showing you this. Now notice that it says that when God did this, when his spirit in Genesis 1 said when the spirit of God was moving over the surface of the water, you know, God have not separated the waters yet. But when you go to Proverbs chapter 3, verse 19, it says by his knowledge the deeps, or you say depths or deeps, depending on what translation you have, were broken up, and the sky dipped with dew. So that shows you that's interesting things that's going on. That means that God founded, when he created this, it was he had the spirit of what we say wisdom, and he had established it by understanding. Then we also have the spirit of knowledge. So we know that these are the spirits, of course, these are the spirits that Jesus was dealing with. We see these are the spirits that Jesus had on him. And he had the spirit of counsel, and this is Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. The spirit of counsel, understanding, wisdom. Okay. Now, he had these on him. And so now we see this is what Jesus was made up of. You see? And so that means that when Jesus say, drink out of me, those wells are in him. So now we see all this time we've been talking about the Philistines, as we've been seeing, is that this is what they've been trying to do to us. You see, they've been trying to keep us from this well. They've been trying to keep us from the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding. They've been trying to keep us from these things. And this is some of the things they've been trying to do to us, and they've been trying to keep us from. And so notice that God had founded, and what that word founded means, when you, what the word founded means is actually it's the same Hebrew word. Founded is the same one for establish. You see, it's also for establish. Also means to set. It also means to set. It also means to set up. It also means to set. It means a foundation. It also means like to lay foundation. It's the same exact word. They just reused it, and they translate it, but it's the same exact word, and it has all these different different meanings to it. And so a lot of times people don't pay attention to that. They don't pay attention to that. How important is if God did it. Now let's look at it this way. If we're doing what the Father did, okay. So if I see God and I say, well, you know what? I'm the Son, so I do what I see my Father do. Well, I see my Father had wisdom. So when my Father came up on this earth or created this earth, he had wisdom. So I understand that wisdom is the way how he set up the earth, how he set it down, how he commanded it, how he did it. It was wisdom. So I also know that with wisdom, you're going to need counsel. And then so I know the spirit of counsel is one of the spirits of counsel, then wisdom. So I know these are things that I'm going to have to drink on. This is out the wells of these things. So, I've got to drink out the wells of these spirits because this is something that's given unto me. Now, let's go further. It says, by understanding, he established the heavens. Okay, understanding, well, think about it. You have no understanding, no discernment. What good are you? So, therefore, you have understanding. Okay, and then it say he established the heavens by his knowledge. The depths, or you say the deeps, were broken up. So the deeps we know was broken up. We already know what the deeps are. It's a dragon that's in the deep, and this is the one who the Philistine worship. They worship Dagon, and referring to the sea dragon. And so we're going to get into that, but I want you to see this because I want you to see how important this is, because I want you to understand what is a blacksmith. And see, God has created the blacksmith. And so therefore God was given the body, even right now, the body has blacksmiths. But what happened is that they're not being used. They went away from God. They went away from God. They're building something that is not of God. They're doing other things that they didn't separate themselves from God, you see. And this is what people have to understand, you see, that they got to get back to what God was trying to do. And so let's go to Exodus. Let's go to Exodus chapter 31. Let's go to Exodus chapter 31, verse 3. It say, I have filled him. Now God talking about how he have this craftsman, this blacksmith. He's talking about this in Exodus 31, chapter 3. He said, I have filled him with the Spirit of God. That's one. He said the Spirit of God in wisdom. That's another. And understanding. That's another. And then he said in knowledge and in all kinds of craftsmanship. All kinds of craftsmanship. So therefore we see right then and there is that he's given the same wisdom that he created everything with to people, to his children. To his children. So what is the Philistines doing? They won't let no craftsman, no blacksmith. They don't want to let a person like this. They don't want a person like this operating in this world. They don't want a person like that operating in the church. A person that have that ability, and then you got to add on the other spirits of deliverance and might and everything else. And when you add on all that power, and it's just too much. They don't want to have that person there. You see, now you notice that this is one of the things that this is one of the things that they have been trying to stop. They've been trying to stop, and they don't. And this is what we was talking about the other day. how they did this. So let's go to Isaiah chapter 54. Let God testify for himself. So Isaiah chapter 54, verse 16. God says, behold, I myself have created the smith, meaning the blacksmith, who blows the fires of the coals and bring out a weapon for its work. And I have created the destroyer to ruin. So God said, I'm the one who created the blacksmith. Okay. Then he say, who blows the fire of coals and to bring out a weapon. Now notice he said a weapon for it work. And I have created the destroyer. And notice he said, I have created the destroyer to ruin. Okay. Now that's very important to realize that. What is he talking about? He have created a destroyer. And so no one, we look at this and say he created a destroyer. And we see how Jesus had destroyed the works of the enemy. And we see how he had done this. And then let's go back into Judges chapter 13. Because Samson, we know, had took on the Philistines, and Jesus as well. And let's go on to into Judges chapter 13, verse 1. And it says that, again, the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord delivered them into the hands of the Philistines for 40 years. Now, there was a certain man from Zorah of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and had no children, and the angel of the Lord appeared to the woman and said to her, indeed, now you are barren and have borne no children, but you shall conceive and bear a son. Now therefore, please be careful not to drink wine or similar drinks, and not to eat anything unclean. Now we know now that they're not talking about real food and wine. They're talking about things of the world. Okay. Now it says, for behold, you shall conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head. For the child shall be a Nazarene, or Nazarite to God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hands of the Philistines. Now notice that he said there's no razor should be taken to his hair. Well, there's a reason why there should be no razor taken to Samson's hair. Samson had 12 locks on his head. He had 12. Each one represents a tribe, but it was only 7 of them that gave him his power. There was only 7 of them that gave him his strength and his power. So therefore, all his power and all his strength was in the 7 locks in his hair, which we know that's the 7 spirits of God. So we know how important that was in the 7. That's how important that really is. You see, that's massively important. Because if you can take away, those 7 locks, you chop them, and guess what? You take 1 well, 2 well, 3 well, 4 well, he ain't got nothing left. He ain't got the power of God. You see, he don't have the power of God, and he really, he ain't got the power of God, and he ain't got the wisdom of God. He ain't got anything working for himself. And so, therefore, his strength will be gone, and he will have this kind of a problem. So therefore, Samson can't afford. You look at Samson. Samson can't afford to have himself in that situation. You would think he wouldn't want to give his secret away. So it's the same thing with believers like us. Well, why are we giving away our locks? Why are we letting our hair being cut? Why we're not taking the 7 spirits of strength and that's standing before God? And this is what we're supposed to be learning from. We're supposed to be drinking from these wells, and we're not operating in them. And so by them being able to keep those wells from us, now, what good are we? We're not going to be as good as we need to be. We can't just drink off one and stay away from the others. I mean, and that's what people do sometimes when they're looking at the spirit of prosperity and creation and things like this. They want to take that prosperity, and then they're not even taking it to the 10th. They're not even giving it 10%. They're just taking it and trying to just use it for the physical blessing and not for the spiritual blessing. And they're just trying to use it, and that's all they want from it. And they're not strong at all. They're not strong at all. They're weak, and they're putting themselves in these situations of weakness. And what's even sad about it, that of course they don't even see this going on, but that exactly is what they're doing when they're doing this. And so we see this happening all the time. day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out. We see this happen all the time in the world. And I mean the world because most of the churches is in the world. So that's what they did. They didn't add the world, excuse me, to the church, and they let the Philistines keep them from their power. It kept them weak from their strength. And like I said, it's a point where you're gonna have to stand. You see, we were talking about this last night. I think the last night teaching how Moses just actually stood. So there's a point where you're just gonna have to stand, and you're gonna have to say, listen. When Moses did in Exodus chapter 2, verse 16, and he just actually took a stand for the seven whales. He just say, listen, the seven women, which represent the seven spirits. He say, listen, I'm standing here and I'm going to defend it, and I'm going to defend it against you pastors, you shepherds, who trying to rob me of it and rob the rest of the flock from drinking. So there's a point where you just gonna have to make a stand, and it'll make no difference what spirit trying to attack you. You're gonna overpower it. You're gonna overcome it, no matter what it is. You're gonna dominate it. You remember that. You know, I tell people all the time. They can see on my pages. I always say, the name Jesus is, the most power that you're gonna need. Way surpass power you can even imagine, and it'll destroy any of these things at any time. It will destroy these things. But see, people don't understand that through the name of Jesus is the character of Jesus. And Jesus trying to show you these things and showing you what is going on in the churches, what is happening, you see, in the churches. And a lot of times people don't see that. They just automatically say, well, I got the name. I know the name Jesus, and that's all it is. And they don't understand the effects of not knowing the wisdom and the knowledge of what's going on, because they're attacking and they're doing these things in front of your eyes, and you don't even know to say that now. You don't even know how to do that now. And it happens to a lot of people. They're just trying to use it in their life, like, well, soon when some attack Jesus' name, and that's what they're doing. But then meanwhile, how did that happen? How's all this stuff going on in the place? It's just happening. And since they see the majority's doing this, they just going along with it. And see, this is why Jesus say you're supposed to be wise as serpents, meaning that you're supposed to know what the schemes of the devil, because they won't stop. They're not going to quit. And believe me, I know this personally. They're not going to quit. The more we go through, the more we destroy. You know what I find out? It's just more of them. It's just more of them. You see, we didn't start it off in the beginning of this. We just started at the beginning of this. We started off talking about the wormwood, and we started off with the malachite, and we all the way up to, we went through the 7. And you know what? It's more than the 7. It's more. And we here with the Philistines now, and it's going to be even more. It just get higher level. It is the higher order that they're in, another level that you're going to have to defeat. It's the same thing with Joshua, how they was going place to place, defeating this one, that one, then there's another one. Then there's 30 kings. I thought it was just 7. Now it's 30. And see, you're going through all this. You see, that's just what it is. You're going to go through all these different ones, and you're going to conquer them and destroy them. Jesus did. You're going to. You see, a lot of people too afraid to be soldiers in God. They're afraid to go through this. They're afraid to put themselves in this position. They're afraid to say, Jesus, let me see what you see. Let me feel what you feel. Let me go through what you go through. Let me see, because the fact of the matter, everybody wants to have what Jesus had without the suffering. You see? And you're going to have to go through the suffering. You're going to have to go through the hardships of what happens. And you're going to have to learn to stand. You're going to have to learn to fight no matter what it is. You're going to have to learn to trust God no matter what part. I don't care if you fall off this earth. I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're in hell itself. At the end of the day, what you're going to have to understand is that God is not going to leave you there. You see, you're going to have to learn to trust God. I don't care if you're at the bottom under the freeway. God is not going to leave you there. And we got to understand, and I don't know about all of us, but we worship a God that fights. He ain't no granddaddy that's sitting on the stone playing games. This is a God that will strap on his arm and get down, get his hands dirty. This is the kind of God and Father you serve. You see, and everybody like to, to sit around and play games with their lives and their spiritual callings. They just like throwing them in the trash. And it's disgusting. To be honest with you, just plain disgusting. And to let these sorry spirits like this, that's pathetic and weak, they prey on the flesh and they prey on the weakness of a soul. Pathetic and weak. And they let these little things run around playing little games and dominating their lives and stealing their spiritual call. These things are pathetic, each of them. They're pathetic and they're weak. They ain't nothing but a bunch of bullies that picking on a bunch of children that don't know who they are. That's all they are. I don't care what they look like. I done seen different ones. I ain't impressed. I don't care which one it is, who they is. I done seen God ride in and destroy each and every one of these things. So it don't make no difference which one that comes next. It don't make no difference what it is. It don't matter. You know, Jesus was so strong in this, and I don't know, this is my spirit, I just need to talk about it. Now, Jesus was so strong in this, Jesus said, even the gates of hell won't prevail against my kingdom. Meaning that he was saying, even when I go into hell, they will not prevail over me. You see, a lot of us want to be in God deeply and have this great anointing and these powers and these abilities, and some of us want to see wonderful things, but some of us don't want to go through the suffering. You see, a lot of us don't want to be. God said he wants his children to be fearless horses that's like riding the battle. You see, notice that. You know, ever seen a horse riding the battle? Horse riding the battle, even though people got, it may be one of the worst situations in the world, but that horse riding in the battle. Even if that horse gonna die, you can see them people got the spears stuck out and everything, but the horse still going forth in battle. No matter what the noise, they trying to stab it. The horse still going forth because it's not afraid. And so a lot of us won't let God ride us. You see, a lot of us ain't want to be that horse that gonna let God can ride us through this. God can just get on your back and ride you down there and go through the Philistines, go down there through the Amalekites. So a lot of us don't want to go through that pain, that suffering, whatever it is. Go down there to Jezebel, to Babylon, go down there to hell, go down wherever God wanted to take you down. You see, he was taking the church Israel place to place. So a lot of people don't want to get on that horse and go over there and start conquering and taking over this atmosphere, taking over this world, take it back. A lot of us don't want to do that because it's suffering that comes with it. Yeah, you may suffer. Yes, you may be this. Yeah, it may be an attack of this. Yeah, it may be that. A lot of us don't want to do that. A lot of us are too afraid to do that. So therefore, we get these sorry, pathetic men of God they claim they are, pathetic traitors. We get a lot of them who they start to please the people because they're ashamed of God, and they're ashamed of God, and they're ashamed of the system that God has. They're ashamed of God, so they got to start making up stories about God. Oh, God don't want you to suffer. Yes, he do. Yes, he do. Through suffering, he brings perfection. And Jesus said, listen, you should be like your Father, perfect. Jesus had to go through suffering for perfection. But people can't preach that. They don't want to preach it because, you know, if you preach that, it's a shame. Nobody want a God like it's a shame to say that. See, they want a Jesus that say, hey, I took the cup so you don't have to. That's not true. Jesus told you, you're going to drink the cup that I drink. You see, you're going to go through it because if you don't go through what he's going through, how are you going to share in the same glory as him if you're not going to go through the suffering? And this is why these sorry little spirits get away, because people are cowards and they're afraid and cowards. And they don't want to stand with God. They don't want to put their sword in. They want to put their sword in the ground and draw a line and say, I'm not moving, I'm taking. And since they want to be cowards, this is the reason why these things are running all over the place. And this is the reason why they're just dominating. And when you know what it is, it's just kindergarten. It's just like childish things, schemes that don't even make sense. And when you see the way, and when you operate in God and see the way the Spirit of God hits you, and the way it just destroy these things and dismantle them, break them to pieces like it was never there. But everybody, where you running around there, you know, you don't want a blacksmith. See, when you get a person that's a blacksmith, as we just saying, you get a person that's a blacksmith coming in, you know, of course we don't want that. We want the Philistine doctrine. You see, we want somebody to tell us the good things. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Suffering is the good thing. Suffering is the thing. It's something you need to keep saying if you're going to walk with God. It's something that you need to start actually taking a liking to. Everybody always, God, let me see heaven. Let me do. Listen, there's a point where you're going to have to see hell. You're going to have to go through these things. You're going to have to go through stuff. I ain't talking about suffering that the world has. No, I'm talking about the suffering that God is going to put you through. God is going to refine you in truth. Everybody don't like truth. And you're going to have to be willing to go through. You're going to, you have to be willing to go through. Because when you don't want the truth, these things are going to win. They want you to operate in, they want you to lie. They want you to live in lies. They want you to operate in lies. Their whole game is lies. They want you to operate in lies. Their whole game is lies. Their whole game is lies. It's all rigged for you to fail. It's like Vegas. It's like Vegas or some casino. They are, the house wins, and that's what their whole thing is set up for them to win in the end. Even when people think they're doing something, then they wake up, it's over with. They're burning. It's over. Ain't nobody coming to get you out because you did it the wrong way. God going to deliver his kids. The devil going to keep his. Everybody running around here talking about this soulish love. No, let's do real love here. So let's stop this soulish crap. Oh, I feel this way. I feel we should just no. Get this soulless crap. If you want to prove how much love you have for mankind, then lay your life down. Go through the suffering. Free others. Do it. Other than that, quit the crap. Quit the soulless crap. Quit the, we should just let them keep doing wickedness and no one judge. Quit that foolishness. There's Philistine doctrine. There's Canaanite gospel. That's all that is. And you judge yourself every time you do it. You're just putting yourself further and further in a hole, and a way of putting it. And you think you're not. You think it's okay to say these things. That's why we went through this. Now, let's get back to the lesson. But like I said, that's something that needs to be shared. Because like I said, all I've seen and experienced, and a lot of things that God has showed me, and I seriously and intimately and experienced these things. And what I've seen at the end of the day, they're all cowards. They're all cowards. They're all little cowards. They're afraid. Anytime a spark of information come out, they want to cover it up. They want to hide it. Anytime it's just a little bit of God power, a miracle happen here and there, God say lay hands and a miracle happen. They're trying their best to cover it up. They are so afraid. Their system is so fragile. They're so afraid to just let it just get a little outbreak. They're so afraid that they come with everything they got just to close a little tiny, because just a little tiny hole they trying to close. Every last one of them coming full blast because they are so afraid. They're so fragile. They're fragile as clay pots. Fragile. They're candy glass. But then they systems look like it. They systems in the world look like they so big. You see, we gotta do that government. I mean, they look so big because they look. See, their system looks so big, just like Goliath. That's the picture they want to show you. You see, you can look at them. Whoa, you so big. Y'all got such a big military. Wow, Babylon. Wow. Look at Sodom and Gomorrah. Look, they're getting bigger. They're stronger. The Canaanites spreading. Listen, it doesn't matter what they look like, what they have. That's all delusion. That's all perception. That's what they operate in, perception. And like I said before, all they try to do is put pain or pressure on the flesh and on weak little souls that they can try to torment, because they know that the soul don't want to suffer. So they put a little bit of suffering on the soul, and the soul turn around and say, let's get out of here. They put a little thing on the flesh say, I'm turn around, I'm out of here. I quit, God. I'm going back. Well, as we see, Samson did not have that issue when it came down to the Philistines of fighting. Samson had no problem. He was not afraid of the foxes. Now, let's go into that. Let's go into that because I want you to see that. Let's go to Judges chapter 15. Judges chapter 15, verse 3. Now, see, Samson he was not afraid of the foxes. And just in case when people don't know what the foxes is, the foxes usually are government. They're usually a government official, kings, popes, people of this nature. They're usually people that's in power like this. They're usually the ones who want to ruin the vineyard. See, they're the ones that want to stop this. They don't want the real translation of the Word of God, because if you really actually fix the King James in these Bibles and put the real translation in all this and what it means, then they wouldn't even want to let that Bible be approved. And the question is, why would you have to even go through these people in the first place? I don't have to go through them to write a Dr. Seuss book, so why do I have to go through them for that? But see, because the fact of the matter, they want to keep on dropping these trashy translations. These foxes, they want to keep dropping these trashy translations so they can be approved to keep dropping them. So you can miss key things that's in here. So you won't see yourself the way you need to see yourself. Now, let's go into this. Now it says, and Samson said to them, this time I shall be blameless regarding the Philistines. If I harm them, then Samson went and caught 300, remember that number 300 foxes, and took torches. He took torches, turned the foxes' tails to each other, you would say, to tails, and put a torch between each pair of tails. When he had set the torch on fire, he let the foxes go into the standing grain of the Philistines. That's good. Thank God for that. And burn up both the shocks and the standing grain, as well as the vineyard and the olive garden. Groves, I'm sorry. Now, you notice that they have olive groves and vineyards. See, they have their copycat. They have theirs. And then let's go a little further. They say, then the Philistine says, who has done this? Notice, who has done this? And they answer, Samson, the son-in-law of the Temanite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion. So the Philistine came up and burnt her and her father with fire. This is what they always love to do. See, burn you with their fire. Fire represents truth. You see, with their truth. Not real truth, but with their truth. You see, their truth is lies. Their truth is psychology. You know, they like to twist up words by people. You know, somebody twist your words. Say, why are you trying to use that? I want to use that reverse psychology stuff with me. Exactly, because that's what the Philistine does. That's what psychology even born from, what it comes from. That's what it's born from and it comes from. Now, notice that he did this to the foxes. He did this to the foxes, and that's what's interesting. Now, what we know about the fox? Let's go into this. Let's go into Song of Solomon, chapter 2. Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 15. It says, he said, catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that's ruining the vineyard. Our vineyard that are in blossom. Now notice that it said, catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that ruining the vineyard. Our vineyard that is in blossom, or that are in blossom, depends on you reading the NIV or the King James. Now, notice that it's foxes that's trying to ruin the vineyard. Now, so Samson, you know, he went and caught some foxes and started using those foxes to ruin their vineyards. You see, Samson didn't care about these little leaders, these little this person and that person, Samson didn't really care. Now let's see what Jesus says about what he thinks is foxes. Because remember, I told you what they were: government officials, kings, these sort of people, Pharisees, these sort of people. in these churches, these sort of people. Now watch this here. Let's go to Luke chapter 13. Luke chapter 13, verse 31. And it says, at the time, some Pharisees came to Jesus and said to him, leave this place and go somewhere else. Herod wants to kill you. Oh, ain't that interesting? Now, Jesus is the vineyard. So they want to ruin him by killing him. Let's go into this now. It says, leave this place and go somewhere else. Herod wants to kill you. Now, notice Jesus is the vineyard. He is the vineyard. Okay, he's the vineyard, and they want to kill him, want to destroy. Now, watch what Jesus say what Herod is. And Jesus said, he replied, go tell that fox. Repeat, he replied, go tell that fox, I will keep on driving out demons and healing people today and tomorrow. And on the third day, remember, we were just saying earlier about the 300 foxes or whatever. Remember that number 3. Now, notice Jesus saying the same thing, using that 3 too. He said, keep on driving out demons and healing the people today and tomorrow and on the third day, and I will reach my goal. In any case, I must press on today and tomorrow and the next day, for surely no prophet can die outside of Jerusalem. Then he starts saying this, to let you know, even the people that accept these people, how they are. They're foxes that's running the vineyard. Watch what Jesus say next. He say, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who kill the prophets and stone those sent to you. How often I have longed to gather you, your children together, as a hen gather her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing. Look, your house left. He said, your house is left to you desolate. Now, excuse me. Now, you notice that Jesus is showing you Herod is a fox. The Pharisees is foxes. You see, in this situation, he's just showing you that even the people that accept them, and that's why he's saying Jerusalem, all them in the whole that accept this. And what they want to do, they want to kill and destroy the vineyard, meaning that they want to destroy the blacksmith. Because Jesus is the blacksmith and Samson is the blacksmith, so they want to get rid of him. And you are a blacksmith, and they're going to want to get rid of you. They want to ruin the vineyard. Why? Because we've been talking all this week about bearing fruit 100-fold. And 100-fold is what get rid of the Philistines. And so, therefore, they want to destroy your vineyard. They want to destroy your fruit, because they don't even want you to get to that level. So what they do is they know that you need the wells. They know that you need it. That's why Delilah trying to take out Samson. You know that Samson got 7 locks. She trying to take away the 7 spirits. They're trying to cut it off. So therefore he can't bear no more fruit. So they trying to cut it at the beginning. They don't want you to get there. And then once you get there, they trying to destroy your vineyard, destroy the work that you're doing. But Jesus say, see, I told you, it's a point where you got to stand. You see, like Moses stood. He said, listen, I'm standing against these shepherds, and I put my life on the line to stand. But you not, listen, this flock gonna get the water. And these 7 daughters gonna do their job and feed their father flock. And another way of putting it, these 7 spirits gonna feed God's children, this flock, these people. And Jesus said the same thing. Listen, go tell that fox, I'm still gonna do what I need to do until I'm ready, to when I'm finished. That's not all, though. See, we got other foxes. I know everybody heard of Ahab. We all heard of Ahab. Ahab always, a lot of people heard of King Ahab. King Ahab was twisted and wicked. He was a twisted, wicked man. So we all heard of Ahab. See, Ahab was a fox. You see, he was a fox himself. You see, he was a no good fox, Ahab. So let's go to 1 Kings chapter 21, verse 1. It said, and it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had a vineyard which was in Jezreel next to the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. So Ahab spoke to Naboth, saying, "Give me your vineyard." Now, what do you need it for? But watch this. "Give me your vineyard, that I may have it for a vegetable garden." Now, notice that his vineyard is really good, really beautiful. That's why he wanted to take it. It's really fine. But then he wanted to take it to change it. See, because you know that Naboth built this vineyard on God. So he got to keep it on God. Ahab is not of God. So once Ahab get hold of the vineyard, he's going to destroy it. Because that's what he's, a fox. Now, let's go into this. It says that, notice that it say, "Give me your vineyard, that I may have it for a vegetable garden, because it is next to my house. And for it I will give you a vineyard better than it. Or if it seems good to you, I will give you what is worth in money." But Naboth said to Ahab, "The Lord forbid that I should give the inheritance of my father to you." So Ahab went into the house. Now it goes, Ahab, of course, going there crying wolf, crocodile tears, whining. He can't get his way, and here comes Jezebel, and she come and use what we say Jezebel law, with twisting God laws to get what she like. And now she went and did this. They killed Naboth. Now what happened to Naboth land? Naboth land is no more good. You see, because once Ahab take over this vineyard that was set in stone, he was bearing fruit of God. Once this is happening, you see, once it was happening, you know, another thing, see, he was close to Ahab. He was close to that king, that palace. See, eventually he's been big. He's already been bigger than that palace. But to make a long story short, he wanted to take his vineyard. Now, what happened when an evil man take over a God's vineyard? And if that happens, he's gonna ruin it. You see, but what it's funny how, remember how she said that the foxes and Song of Solomon, she said, get rid of the foxes, because see, the foxes are drawn to the vineyard because the smell, the look. Ahab, the same thing. He was drawn to this. I have to have this vineyard. I gotta have it. He's even broken heart now. I gotta have it. I just gotta mess it up. I gotta take it, destroy it, and then turn it into something else. He's a fox. And that's what people be doing with the gospel. They want to take it. I got to take it to myself. I got to destroy it. I got to rip it to pieces, tear it up, and create whatever. So therefore, I can get whatever I'm looking for, what self-glory or whatever you're trying to do. He's a fox. And you know what? He hated man of God. He hated true man of God. True men of God, what they would call, they took this out the translation, but they used to call them wild asses. A wild ass, which means a donkey. A wild ass was that is the strongest man of God it is. And the reason why it's the stronger man of God it is because, you know what, it's stubborn. See, a donkey's stubborn, you know. The donkey's stubborn. A donkey, you know, a wild donkey, it don't want nobody riding him. It don't want nobody riding him. It don't like being in the city. It don't like to be around all that noise in the city. It like to be in the wilderness. It like to be where it is. It don't want to be sitting up there putting kids on his back. It don't want no one to ride on them. You know, only God can talk to them. So what happened? People try to take them donkeys, trying to break them, and a lot of them donkeys will let you out. You have to hurt them to break them. And see, this is what's wrong with people. You see, when you get these wild asses, and that's what I mean by donkeys, in the churches. When you get these kind of men in churches and women in churches we see, then people want to throw them out because, see, that pastor can't ride their back. You see, he telling them this. I don't believe that, Pastor. I see it's more to this. God has been sharing. No. Listen, I know what I'm doing. You see, they don't want to listen. See, he in there riding everybody else back. See, he got them coming in there every week, doing whatever the same old thing, getting nowhere, and he's getting his 10%, and he's riding them all over the place, riding their spiritual calling all the way to hell. Nothing but ashes all over the altar. Dead man bones all over the altar. That's all he got. Man, person coming to church ain't nothing but a den of thieves. whitewashed tombs. Everybody just go ahead and just, you look like it's an altar, but all it is, it's a graveyard. And it's a straight graveyard for spiritual callings. Everybody that come up to it, they dead. They won't do nothing else but go out there and you know what? They won't come into a real blacksmith. They're gonna go into only the Philistine blacksmith. And you know what he does? He only sharpens axes and picks. That means he only gonna give you the word to go back out to the world to go do their work, to go plant their gardens, to do their work, to go work their 9 to 5s, to do all their business. That's the only thing he gonna make sure you ready to go do, and then make you feel like well, you don't want to do that system. See, you supposed to do it. He wants you to believe in that foolishness, so he can keep you a nice little parasite that don't want to rock the boat. And every time somebody rock the boat and say, "Listen, I'm not letting you ride on me," he get mad and start wanting to beat you down. You see. They don't like wild asses. You see, they don't like them in churches. They don't like them at all. They don't like them in the world. They don't like them because they won't let no one ride them but God. You see, I even tell my own wife, I say, listen, if I tell you something about God, I don't care, it's me. You go make sure. You are a spiritual investigator. You investigate everything. Just like this worse than working for the CIA, the government. You don't trust no one. You investigate everything. I don't care. You investigate. I don't care if Paul said it. Even Jesus said it. I don't care if God. Okay, like I was saying, it's funny. I'm just going to tell you, I just actually got cut offline. Cut me offline to get back on. Ain't that something? It's like everything trying to stop me from doing it. But like I said before, I told my own wife, and I go back to this, and I tell you the same thing. You must be a spiritual investigator. You investigate everything in the Word. I don't care if you see somewhere. Paul said this. Paul was a big man. You go and find out. You spiritually investigate. Jesus said, well, you go and you find out. You investigate. You are a spiritual investigator. You're supposed to judge, analyze everything. So I'm back again. I was kicked offline again. And this is interesting, but I kicked offline again. But like I was saying before, every time I say this, I get kicked offline. But like I said before, I want each and everybody that comes out listening, I want you to understand, you have to be a spiritual investigator. You must investigate all the Word of God. I don't care who spoke it. You have to investigate it. Even John tell you, test the spirits, try the spirits, test them. You test everything. You see, I don't care if you say, well, Paul said, well, you know what? Let's test it. You see, they said how God, look how God did things. God came down in Sodom and Gomorrah situation. He came down. What did he do? He came down, even though he heard the cries, he heard the reports of the angels. It didn't matter. He came down for himself to see. Like I tell my wife all the time, I say, this is just like being in this is like being in the CIA or the government. You trust them? No. You'll be testing every single thing. You wouldn't trust no one. So I tell her, no matter if I said something, you go check for yourself. Get away from this laziness. You are a spiritual investigator, and every child of God is supposed to judge and analyze. Judge and analyze. And we didn't have this happen now. We didn't been kicked off now every time I try to say it. So I'm back again. I'm back again on here. We just had about a 5-minute delay. I couldn't get back online. I'm trying to get back online and cut me off again. Every time I get to this same episode, this part of this episode now, I'm saying, every time I'm telling you to do spiritual investigating, for you to investigate every single thing, for you to look up every word, Hebrew, Greek, for you to understand the root words, for you to do all this, for you to stop letting someone else do it for you. I don't care they cut me off 1,000 million times. I don't care how many times it is. I'm coming back. You see, every child of God, you got to understand, you have a warrior spirit in you. And you don't let these little things like this, these little nuisance, you go back and you come back stronger. You don't let nothing stop you, because there ain't nothing that can stop you. Only you can stop you. Only you can find yourself stopping yourself by not following God anymore and getting yourself, off the road. But ain't nothing can stop you once you're on that road. Now, so like I was saying before, you need to search out everything, because when you don't search out everything and don't know the truth, this is how the Philistine burn you with fire. Because see, by you not being in the well, while you're not taking from the well of wisdom, understanding, counsel, by you not doing that, then they can burn you with any truth they want. See, they can make whatever they want to make it true to you. They can make you believe that, and they can burn that inside your brain. And therefore, you walk around with, that's what it is. That's the truth. That's the truth. You understand? That's what exactly the kind of way that's exactly what they want to do to you. That's exactly what they want to do to you. And we're not going to let them stop us here. We're going to go forward. Even if I got to record this message over, because I don't know how the message is going to come out now, because they've been cutting me off. And that's something that y'all seen we had happen before. We was doing the Jebusite teaching. I did the Jebusite teaching. I had to go over and over again. So I would do a whole show and have to come back again, because it was just ruining it. And so I don't even know what was going on there. And I haven't had that happen since that teaching, since that. But all of a sudden now we on the last episode of this. And it's like everything in the mama trying to keep us. Everything in his mama trying to keep us from closing this out the way it need to be closed out. You see, trying to get you to understand what this thing is. And we've been going through all week how this thing been trying to stop you from bearing fruit. And I'm trying to tell you, it's trying to stop you from understanding what is a blacksmith. It's trying to stop you from understanding what is a wild ass or a wild donkey. It's trying to stop you from understanding the revelations of the truth of that. They don't want you to know. So they want you to think that everybody can ride your back. You see, you got them people that got them horses. Oh, you can ride. They'll let anybody ride. See, no, not God horse. See, God don't want anybody to just run around his kids. Or you say riding his horses. You see, just can't let anybody on there. Can't let anybody on there. Don't worry, y'all. I'm going to have to probably record this over, but I'm going to go through the message anyway. I'm going to go through it anyway, and I'm going to have to record it over anyway. I know I am, because it just went off too many times. But you know me, I'm not for to quit on it. I came in, and I'm going out with it. You see? I came in, and we're going to finish it. And if I got to do it over because it's the issues or what it is, hey, listen, that's what it is. I don't care. We're gonna keep doing it until it get done. And just what it is, you know. Like I said, this ain't no tickling contest here. You know, walking with God. This ain't no picnic. This ain't no, hey, if you afraid of some setbacks, you're afraid of some suffering, you're afraid of something coming against you, you're afraid of people coming against you, you're afraid of all these other things, hey, then you need to go sit on the sideline somewhere where someone's going to baby you. But big boys play here. You know, big boys and big girls play here. You know, this ain't like I said, this is not something for people who want to be babies. You know, and God is, if you're a person that want to be baby, Jesus never babied anyone. You see, he didn't baby anyone. And he didn't sugarcoat anything with anyone. He wasn't a babysitter. He wasn't babysitting the disciples. He told them, listen, if you're not going to do this, then you can't follow me. If you're not going to be like a child, you know, and your obedience and understanding, you're not going to come in and obey and follow. If you're not going to do this, then you will never enter the kingdom. I don't care who you are, Peter, Paul, Jesse, Ray. He didn't care who you was. If he was not a respecter of person. So like I was saying, he don't care, you know, he didn't care who you were. You got cut off again. Every time it's funny, I got cut off again. Every time we start speaking authority here, we're getting cut off now. Like I said, Jesus didn't care who you was. You could be Peter, you're not going to enter the kingdom. I don't care. God's no respecter of person. You see, he don't care if you Peter. Peter's not going to follow the rules. He ain't going to get in. It's what it is, you know. Jesus didn't baby him, and I love the way Jesus did things. Like, for instance, I remember when the way he pulled Peter out. You know, when Peter said, "Oh, that wouldn't happen to you. You would never be crucified. So you would never do this." See, if Jesus is not never crucified, then he's not glorified. And if you're not crucified, you're not glorified. You see? So why would you say such a thing to Jesus? Well, Peter operated in the soul. The soul don't want to hear bad things going to happen or suffering. You know, no, that will never happen. But then Jesus pulled him out in front of everybody and said, "You see this? Listen, you're not willing to give away everything and follow me. You see, give up that soul, give up that foot, follow me. You're not willing to give it up. If you're not, you can't follow me." So we didn't have this message disrupted. I don't know how many times we got kicked off. Actually, I just got kicked off. I had to come back on. This has been about 5-6 times at this point. And I never had nothing happen like this before. So, you know, I know we're going to have to go over it again because the fact of the matter is going to be all over the place. It's going to be all over the place, the air, everything, the way it's going. And, you know, we started this thing out. And it seemed like it was hard for me to speak at times. And that happened before. And I know this is strange to a lot of people, but this it may be strange to a lot of people, some of these things that we're testifying, and it may be a little strange to certain people because they're not used to their pastor preaching good things, or at least their pastor not have to go through things. They're not used to their pastor talking about suffering and certain things they're going through. They're used to peaceful things. They're used to hearing that, you know, this is everything is peace when it's war. So I know some of this stuff is foreign to you, but see, real children of God and real man of God, everything you gonna preach, you gonna go through, everything you gonna deal with it all up and close, real in action. You're not gonna talk about it, you're gonna live it. That's how, and so that's why you see a lot of these people don't talk about it. They are not living it the way they need to live it. They're only talking about the good principle of this and that, and they're not talking about following God. You know, like Paul said you have the Jews. And what Paul mean, the Jews? I mean people that's like the Jews. They're looking for the signs. They're looking for the miracle powers. You see, they're looking for, what else you going to do? You going to heal somebody today? You going to do a healing line? Well, what else you going to do? See, they're looking for the miracle. What sign you going to do? The sign, the miracle. And then he said, you have the other type, the Gentile, or you say the Greek, that they're looking for the wisdom. See, they're looking for what's the new thing. Well, what's the wisdom? See, tell me what the new thing is. This is why they say they used to Greece to sit around all the time looking for wisdom. What's the new thing we're looking for? What's the new thing that's going on? What the new wisdom is. Give me something I never heard before. And there's a lot of ministers like that too. They get obsessed with wisdom. You know, they can get obsessed with it, and they can forget about the rest of the 7. You see, they can do that. And it's like people who get a hold of that power. They get a hold of the spirit of might, the power, the miracles. They get a hold of the power, and they just forget. They forgot all about the vision of God. They forgot about the vision of God. The whole spirit of vision. They forgot. They got off course because they became seduced by this gift. And as long as they're operating in it, they think that is God pleased with it. And that's not God being pleased. That is not what God being pleased. That is not him being pleased. Not at all. And Paul said you're going to have people like that with the wisdom. But he said, we preach the crucifixion of Christ. Christ and Christ's suffering. And his resurrection. That's what he's preaching. And that's what we're preaching here. Everything that we've been preaching all this time, everything we've been preaching It's always about that. See, all this is all. Jesus knew all these things, and Jesus is trying to show you all these things. He knew all these things, and he was trying to show you all these things. You an individual, you all these things. Now I'm sure that time running out almost anyway, and I wanted to be able to go to more of this message, so I apologize ahead of time for the people. These people that are actually going to listen to it, probably before we be able to chance to delete it or whatever. So many people that is going to listen to it, and of course, the people that's going to listen to it, we cannot be able to finish it tonight. But what I do want to end it out on, I want to end it out just for those people, just in case they hear it and they are fine with it somehow, which I'm sure they will be in certain areas. Like I said before, a donkey, a wild ass, in that sense. They do not want to deal with one of those. They do not want to deal with one of those men of God. They only let God ride them. They only let God deal with them. They got a one-on-one connection with God, and they don't want to deal with that. You see, if a person following God and you're 100% like Paul 100% following God, there's no doubt about that. For it's what we've seen in the scriptures, no doubt about that. But even though he did that, it's people that follow him. They say they still looking in the scripture to make sure. See, they kept on spiritually investigating. See, they didn't sit back. They didn't sit back and start just picking, just letting Paul tell them anything. They went and researched. They went to find out what the truth was. You see, they just didn't let that just ride their back, even when they knew it's true. Because everybody knows, every child of God hear the voice of Jesus, the truth, you're gonna know it. But in the same token, you still don't mean that you don't investigate it. Don't mean you investigate things. You want to investigate things because even when you know that's true and you investigate and it's proved to be true, then that's what it will be. But you would be digging a well. See, once you know it's true, then once you know it's true, say you got that revelation and you know it's true, once you know that it's true, then you're going to go further in it. You're going to say, I'm going to make sure when you investigate it, you're going to go deeper, and then it's going to go to something else, more than what you ever imagined. Excuse me, and it's going to make even more so of a well. It's going to be a deeper well, and it's going to end up going further than you believed it would. And something started out as a little puddle, turned into a river. You see, that's why you always want to do that. You always want to do that. You always want to take this, and you want to be what you call. And we're gonna go through more of this and more. But you want to be what you call a wild ass. That you only listen to, and you're a wild ass that only operate in what God is telling you. That you became a spiritual investigator just like He is. That you're no longer listening to what the government's saying here. No longer listening to what these other people saying. No, these books that's approved. You're gonna go and you're gonna search out every word. I don't know how many bad translations and these things is ridiculous. It's hard work, and I'll tell you that it's hard work to have to do it. It's hard work when you're looking at a translation like a King James, and it's just saying tree, and the Holy Spirit don't do stuff like that. See, notice as we was investigating earlier, and the Philistine we talked about, it's early in the morning we went into it, that the Holy Spirit actually, He telling you what tree this is. Hey, this is a salt cedar. Hey, this is this tree. This is that tree. He's not saying tree, because if he said tree, you wouldn't even understand what he meant. Then King James say stuff like plain, which plain represent the salt cedar tree, which it doesn't say that because really it say plain. So automatically you just think land. And then it comes back and say the right translation in another King James, but in the ones before it say the wrong. It don't even make sense. And see, these are the things I'm talking about, from this to the NIV to no matter which one it is, because they all have to be. It's a certain way they're doing it. You know, they fix one thing, break 30 more. That's just what it is. And it's all about keeping it from the truth, from you, and you're going to have to search out the truth. You're going to have to be a spiritual investigator, a wild ass. And being a wild ass, I want to say this, is that being a wild ass, you know what? Samson was one, and he was speaking from the, remember they say Samson killed 1,000 with a jawbone. He killed 1,000 with a jawbone. I'm going to preach this out to you. He killed 1,000 with a jawbone. He took a jawbone, and he killed 1,000 with the jawbone. And you know what a jawbone? And you know why he did it? Of the jawbone of a donkey, of an ass, of a wild. Actually, it's a wild ass, of a wild donkey. He did this with, and you know why? Because the donkey jaw. How can think about it? How can a donkey talk without a jaw? So the donkey need a jaw. So when you go to Numbers chapter 22, verse 23, it talk about Balaam. When you go in and talk about Balaam, it's going to tell you when you go in there, when you're dealing with Balaam, Balaam was he was so crazy, he was determined to go through this road. And the donkey had seen the angel of God, would represent God. And when he seen him, he tried to stop. You see, because he understood that this is God. Even though he letting a man that's mad and sane riding him, he still knew that when it was God, he stopped. Well, of course, Balaam got mad like the pastor do when you find out that you're not listening to what they want you to hear. He started punching on them, hitting on them, beating on them, and that's exactly what they do in the churches. Start stripping from them, and this, oh, you ain't got that money. Oh, we know we stripping your position. You ain't got that. We see, they'll start beating on you, stripping on you, trying to make you feel shame. Even though you done let him ride you all these years. Soon you did one thing, he started beating on you, stripping you. Now, so the angel would say, God opened up the donkey mouth. The donkey started talking to Balaam and rebuked Balaam and started talking to Balaam. You go to 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 16, to talk about how he rebuked the donkey rebuked him because he was so crazy and mad. So the donkey had to tell him. And you notice that the donkey opened up his mouth with his jaw talking to him to rebuke him, to tell him. And he started saying he still wanted to whip them on the donkey some more. You see? And so notice that that donkey had a jaw. That donkey spoke. He spoke. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. Samson was using the jaw of that donkey. And when we do this over, of course, we're going to go into it a little bit. We're going to go into it more, where you can go and we can reread into the rest of the story of this. How we're going to definitely read more into the story of this when we go do this over. But the donkey, it said that Samson, after he killed him, it said when the 1,000 says Samson, he stopped speaking. Oh, so Samson was a donkey, and he knows after he killed him, he stopped speaking. He was speaking with the mouth of a wild donkey. They're only going to speak what God speaks. That's okay. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to redo it tomorrow. No matter what, we're going to redo it tomorrow. And we're going to be back on. And I'm going to get all this to you the right way. Everything going to go the right way with you. I don't care if I got to do this 100 times. I will finish these Philistines. These Philistines will be finished in the name of Jesus. They will be. And we will be back on here and get this done. And this is Courtney Jones. Blessing and peace be to you. And I'm out.